What's up, guys? Shay from Body Slam here, back with a new video. So AEW Dynamite happened last night, and this was the big beach break show. And coming out of that show, we are cruising into Double or Nothing, which is only 2 weeks out, and Anarchy in the arena is going to happen. So we're going to talk about the setup into that match and everything else that happened on Dynamite last night. So let's go ahead and let's get into it. All right, guys, so you know the deal. I take my 5 biggest takeaways from the most recent episode of AEW Dynamite. And the first thing that I want to mention, I want to get it out of the way right now, is that we have Anarchy in the arena, and I don't know who all is going to be in the match. So, preceding that, we had Samoa Joe and Jon Moxley in the steel cage match for the World Championship. I didn't think that the match was going to be great. It was okay for me. It was okay for me. I didn't care for Mox bleeding during the commercial break. Like, we don't know how he got busted open, so I didn't feel there was a reason for it, and that's a whole different story with Mox and having to bleed in so many of his matches to, I guess, I don't know if that's to make it feel more serious or make the fans feel more connected. I don't know what that is, but I'm not a big fan of it, but Mox is a good worker. So, I look past that, right? Him and Joe, they work okay together. It wasn't like spectacular, but it got the point across, right? Everything that needed to be done was done. But the end, though, was like all over the place. In a good way, all over the place. So you have Joe, and then you have Mox, and then you have Claudio and Wheeler Yuta, and Marina Shafir, and Willow, and Powerhouse Hobbs at ringside. You have Interference. You have Gabe Kidd, who comes in with a hood and slides Mox the plastic case. That's what I call it, because it falls like a feather when it hits the ground. And Jon Moxley retains the championship. He beats Samoa Joe, as we all thought, right? He's going to go to All In and face whoever wins from Ospreay and Hangman. So, shortly after, here come the Bucks. The Bucks come down to the ring. Before they can do anything, here comes Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega comes down, and he tries to fight off the Elite. They overtake him. Who else was involved in this? You have Okada. Okada and Powerhouse Hobbs have a standoff, but then Okada low blows Powerhouse Hobbs, and then Speedball runs off Okada. Then they bring the cage down, and they're beating down on Omega, and they're beating down on Samoa Joe. Powerhouse is laying on the outside. Then here comes Swerve Strickland. Swerve Strickland does a freaking double stomp from the top of the cage, and everybody just runs. Everybody just runs. And yes, it was just as chaotic as I just explained it. If you can't follow, you definitely need to go watch it, because it really was as I just explained it. There was a lot of moving pieces. You had the Elite without Okada. You had Blackpool Combat Club, Yuta, Mox, Claudio. You had Gabe Kidd. That's 6 guys, right? And then on the other side, you had Joe, you had Powerhouse, you had Omega, you had Swerve. That's 4 guys. So I don't know if they're doing 5-on-5 or 6-on-6 or 7-on-7, adding Shafir and Willow. I don't know. But I guess we're going to find out next week, which is like the go home show, I believe, right? Yeah, the go home show before Double or Nothing. So it's gonna come to fruition. It's gonna happen. It's just a matter of who's gonna be on each side, and who is Hook returning to join, and then they're gonna need maybe one more guy. So who's that one more guy gonna be? I don't know. But Anarchy in the Arena is always a fun match. There's going to be a lot going on. It's a great type of match for the crowd to get excited for, because there's a lot of like fighting in the crowd and the backstage areas, and you never know who's going to come out on top. So we'll see next week what they're going to do with that big match. I didn't like how they all ran from Swerve. Like, you had 6 guys in the ring, and they all ran from one guy. I get it. Swerve is like a threat, but he's not that much of a threat to beat 6 guys. But anyway, yeah. Takeaway number 2 is MJF is now in the Hurt Business. So, we finally have a semi-conclusion to the Hurt Business MJF storyline. And they did allow MJF to become a part of the Hurt Business, but they did tease some tension among the two, right? So MJF is in the backstage area, and Shelton actually goes and gets MJF from the back and kind of like holds him by his collar and pushes him out to the ring as if they're going to lay hands on MJF. That was not the case. They gave him 3 thumbs up. He is now part of the Hurt Business, but next week we are going to see like an official introduction into the Hurt Business. So that's going to be interesting to see. We know what the real goal is for MJF. MJF wants the world title, and he thinks that being a part of the Hurt Business is going to help him get there. He's thinking that they're going to back him up on his quest to become AEW World Champion, right? And in addition to that, Hurt Business beat Top Flight in a tag match, and then Crew came out, and Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, they want title shots. So they're going to battle on Friday on Collision. And then the winner between that match will get a shot at the Hurt Business at Double or Nothing. So a match to get a couple guys on the card, I'm neither here nor there with it, but getting the Hurt Business on the show is a good thing for me. So thumbs up. Takeaway number 3 is that Toni Storm has her match at Double or Nothing, but it kind of overshadowed the return of Sky Blue. So Toni Storm has been in these eliminator matches like every week, right? And she's been winning all of her matches, but she's in these matches just because she's a fighting champion. They're not title matches. They're just like exhibitions. And then if somebody beats her in an eliminator, then they get a title shot, right? So in this match was Toni Storm, and then we had Mina Shirkawa, but we also had Sky Blue making a return after like 10 months of not being in action. So she showed some small signs of ring rust, but all in all, she looks solid, right? And you would think that if you're going to bring Sky Blue back, like, you wouldn't put her over like a lower level AEW talent or Ring of Honor talent instead of putting her in a 4-way that she didn't win. That was kind of, interesting. Interesting to me that they brought her back in that way. Like, I know she was at home, but I feel like they could have found something else for her in this particular segment. But anyway, Mina Shirakawa pins Toni Storm, so she gets the title shot against Toni Storm at Double or Nothing. And this is a rematch because they faced each other before, and I can't remember if it was World's End, Forbidden Door, one of the two, but I remember them facing each other before. Toni Storm came out with the win, and I'm a fan of Mina Shirakawa. Now that she's a part of the AEW roster, I feel like they should feature her more, right? And I've heard people say online, and this is not a quote from me, but I've heard people say online that a lot of the the Asian talents tend to dress in the same way when they're like wrestling, right? And I don't think that's necessarily true. I think they have a specific style. Like, if you look at like a Mina, a Shida, you look at like a Asuka, Io, Kairi Sane, they do have similar styles in their dress, but that's native to where they're from, right? And it is different from the women that are from the States or from like Canada or from the UK, and that's okay. That makes them unique. But I think Mina has a different aura about her. She is completely different from most of the other women on the roster in her presentation. She has this I can't put it into words, but she has this like large personality and this like feeling that she could be so much more. She could be a top female in this company if they use her correctly. Like she does everything right. She has everything down, presentation, look, skills, everything. So I'm excited to see what they do with Toni and Shirkawa. I don't think that Toni's losing the belt, but the match should still be good. I hope that after these 2 weeks are over, that Mina has a place on the roster and they use her as they should. Takeaway number 4 is FTR is interesting again, right? So we know that they're having this thing with the announcers, Tony Schiavone, Daddy Magic, and now it's Nigel McGuinness. So on Collision, was it Dash or Cash? Was it Dax or Cash? I think Dax kind of smushed Nigel in the back of the head. Nigel kind of slid into the ring and cost Daniel Garcia his match on Collision, right? So Nigel came out on the microphone and he wanted to apologize to Garcia, and Garcia wants Nigel to return to the ring to battle FTR. But Nigel's kind of on the fence because they're not a real tag team. He's like, FTR will kill us, right? So here comes Stokely Hathaway, and Stokely wants to know what Nigel was thinking when he put hands on FTR. Nigel's just saying, I was defending myself, right? So Nigel's still on the fence about teaming with Daniel Garcia. Daniel Garcia wants the match to happen, and it'd be cool to see Nigel McGuinness in the ring again. Apparently FTR was not in the house last night, but surely that was a lie. They attacked both Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. So I believe we're going to have ourselves a tag match at Double or Nothing. Daniel Garcia, Nigel McGuinness versus FTR, which I am good with because it keeps the storyline going of FTR going after the announcers. They were like the live-in legend killers or whatever that is. So Nigel is an ROH legend, so it makes sense to go that route with the match. And my final takeaway of the night is that Hangman Adam Page and Will Ospreay would be the perfect main event for Double or Nothing. Now, I know that we're getting Anarchy in the arena. I understand that. But that doesn't have to be the last match of the show. It doesn't have to be. It could be similar to what they did with Hangman and Punk at Double or Nothing, where Anarchy in the arena. What was that, Double or Nothing? Or was that All Out? I think it might have been All Out. Man, I can't remember. I think it was All Out because they were in Chicago. Where Anarchy in the arena was the match before the main event, and I think that should be the case this time as well, because there's not going to be any like big returns or anything like that. So I think they can get it done and then save Ospreay and Hangman for the big main event spot. I think their story has been perfect so far. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Like, they are two of the best guys on the AEW roster. When they stand face to face, like, you can feel how special this is. And both of them have done a masterful job. They had a tag match against Takeshita and Josh Alexander. Solid match. Solid match. I mean, you can't go wrong with any of them. Josh Alexander looked really good in his match. So I think he's going to be a force in AEW. He just needs to get his the ground under his feet and get acclimated, get into the storylines, and then he'll grow. He's not going to be a part of the Don Kelly family for very long. He's going to break out and be his own guy. But yeah, I'm pushing for Ospreay and Hangman to be the main event of the show, because I mean that's going to determine who's going to face Mox at All In, and I think it's going to be Ospreay. They could go the triple threat route, but no, you can't. You can't go the triple threat route because somebody has to win the Owen. So you have to end it with a pinfall, unless there's some type of interference, and we wind up having a triple threat. Because what are you going to do with Hangman if he loses to Ospreay? Like, where are you gonna go? Are you gonna wind up having Omega and Hangman versus the Bucks at some point? Like, is he going to? I don't know. I don't know how it's gonna work. But I'm intrigued. I'm interested. Like, that's a match that I'm really looking forward to. That's the match that I'm looking forward to the most. Hangman, Ospreay. So I thought this week's AEW Dynamite was a good show. I really do. I think that they did a really good job of pushing storylines forward. I think Double or Nothing is going to be an amazing show, and I'm happy with the product that they've put out. I didn't even mention Ricochet and Zach Gowen, but you know it didn't make it into my top five. But Ricochet beat Zach Gowen, the one leg guy, yeah, and kept his heel persona going. But Ricochet's cool right now, so I can't complain. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you thought about AEW Dynamite this week in the comments below. Do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And I will see you guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow for the next card rip. Take it easy, guys. Peace.